pudding, and the pudding in this case is a football. Boom! Eat my goal! The goalie has got football pie all over his shirt.
Welcome to this episode of the Down the Pub podcast. On this episode, myself and Gary are reviewing two games because they were quite close together. We're reviewing the Valour game on Saturday and then the Guelph, am I saying that right? Guelph United.
I'm the worst person in the world for pronunciation, so yeah, whatever you think, mate.
Yeah, let's go with Guelph.
You wait till we start playing the Quebec teams. That's a real shit show then.
I was going to stop doing the podcast. So we had Guelph in the Canadian Championship as well. So welcome back to the show, Gary. Really appreciate you hanging out again to do these reviews. I hope you're enjoying doing them.
Yeah, I love it, mate. It's great fun.
Yeah. So the first game was obviously the Valour game. So I thought we'd just take a little look at the squad selection. I think that Stephen Hart obviously had the Tuesday game in mind when he kind of decided on this one. So I guess my first question to you would be, do you think that was wise? Like, what was the more important game in your eyes, the league game or the Canadian Championship game?
The answer is it was the Canadian Championship game. But I've got this thing where I always, and with Arsenal as well, I've always been like this. Like the league, even when we're not doing that well, the league is the one thing that matters most to me. So on a personal level, I actually think we've got quite a good playoff chance this year. So the league was a priority for me. But if you work at the club, if you're in charge of the accounts at the club, then you want that Toronto game because that's going to sell out in 5 minutes and people are going to spend a lot of money at that game. A lot of merchandise will get sold. It's great in terms of like optics for the club, maybe not globally, but certainly within North America. So yeah, I think the answer is it was the Guelph game, but personally I maybe a bit old fashioned, but I always prioritize the league. What about you?
I see totally why the Tuesday game, the Canadian Championship game, was more important. I know why they did that, and it's obviously like, let's not be stupid, and Stephen Hart's not a stupid man too, that he obviously knew himself that the Tuesday game was way more important to get TFC at home. But I agree with you though. Like, I think the league to me is way more important, and it was a risky gamble, I thought. Like, I think that if you truly believe your squad is good enough, we should have had enough in the tank, we're kind of our players that aren't playing week in, week out, like our starters, should have been good enough to win the game on Tuesday. You know what I mean? Because we're playing League One Ontario opposition, so I think we should have had enough. And
I mean, it was largely the same team. There was only a few that had come in that, like Jeremy dropping out, obviously Santos dropping out, but it wasn't that different. And I think that's because Guelph also played on Saturday. So As soon as you see that Guelph are playing on Saturday, they played pretty much their strongest team as well. Then you can kind of go, okay, they'll be just as tired. So yeah, no danger.
But that was just that, like, I agree with you that the league to me is more important, but it's obviously going to be amazing to have TFC in Halifax. So we got to see Mr. Robinson playing his first full game, or starting for the first time. So what did you think of his performance, and what do you think that he brought different to the team than maybe what Akeem brings, or Cory even in that kind of role?
I think what's interesting at the moment is, even though Morelli's injured, we now, for the first time, I think in 3-4 years, have really, really defined attacking principles. And instead of reworking that to fit in a different player, we're just plugging someone into that role and going, this is our workaround, and we're eventually going to hopefully land on someone who can play that same as Morelli, which I admire, actually. I like the fact that we've got this really defined way of playing now. And and Saturday was Saturday was Robinson's dress rehearsal for that, and he was fine, actually. I thought he did well. He was finding his legs a little bit at the start, I thought. A couple of rough touches, but he found his way into the game. He was dropping deep and linking well. He's one of those players, and I thought this when he came on a sub a few times, where if you've watched football for long enough, you can tell, I think, within 2 or 3 seconds not how good someone is completely, but you go, okay, they're a player or they're not a player. Just the way they carry their body, the way they shape it when they receive passes, and instantly you look at him and go, right, he's definitely gone through an academy system. Just technically, he's really, really good. So I think he's going to have to get used to the pace of a professional league, and I think we can kind of fold that into when we talk about the Guelph game and how a lot of players from League One Ontario they don't have the pace or the speed of thought yet. But I think once he gets used to the pace, once he gets used to playing with adults, he's going to be a good player for us. And I didn't think I would see him centrally, to be honest. I was very surprised by that. But when you see how we play, it makes a bit more sense, because he was dropping really deep like Morelli was, and Marshall and Bent were pinching right in, being basically de facto centre forwards. They weren't really staying that wide in that game. So they were playing centrally as centre forwards, and he was playing more as a false nine, whatever you want to call it, sort of role in the middle. But yeah, he was good, I thought.
Yeah, I thought he had a really good game. Like he, even like just starting off, like, as you said, like, you can kind of tell that he knows the game, and his touch was really good, and it didn't seem to phase him at all. Like it wasn't. I think it helps the fact that they're in a 35,000 seater stadium and there's like 4,000 people there. I think that kind of helps. You know what I mean? Because you don't have everybody in on top of you, and it kind of gives you a bit of breathing space. I was actually going to touch on this a little bit, and it's not like, it might sound like a bit of a crazy take, but I'm not trying to be Garrett Wheeler or nothing like that. But I actually think in the last couple of games, without Joe Morelli, we've played a lot better. And I think it's because when Joe plays, we try and push everything through him because he's our star man. And teams, I think, have got wise to it. And we're kind of like, all we need to do is really watch Joe Morelli, and then Halifax can't tick. They just don't work. Whereas I find that you kind of mentioned it before, that other players like have needed to step up a little bit, and Cory Bent has been one of them. I actually think we're a lot more dynamic going forward. Like, I was actually really surprised at like how for the first time, I think it's like probably in all the times I've been a Wanderers fan, I actually enjoyed watching them. Those two games, I actually enjoyed watching them play. I like the brand of football. I think it's pretty dynamic. I thought Cory Bent was amazing at how much he was like willing to take players on and attack. Like, and I think that's what we've always kind of expected from him. And I think it, like, you know, as I said, like everything always seemed to go through Joe, and we're kind of depending on other people to do more. And I think people are starting to step up to the plate a little bit. What do you think?
No, 100% agree. Yeah, I think we've looked. I thought I was going to have to fight you on this, but you agree, so that's good. Yeah. No, yeah, I think we've looked brilliant the last two games. Actually, I know you can kind of filter Guelph through the Crapatron or whatever you want to call it, but like obvious caveats there. But we look very dangerous in attack. Like our problem used to always be we were good up until the final third, and now we're good until the final 10th. Like we even we create chances now, really, really good chances. When before we couldn't create shit, could we? Like it'd get to like that kind of last third and it'd just go. But now we're actually creating the chances, but obviously, and we will get onto this, I'm sure. The next step is then putting them away. But yeah, we play really attacking, really modern football, and I think it's very refreshing because we haven't always played that way, and we've watched some real shit over the years. Let's be honest, but at the moment, it's not. It's very good. It's very attacking, and I agree. I think Morelli was such a talisman for the team that his teammates obviously revered him a lot as well, and rightfully so. But there is a point where they kind of defer to him when they're in better positions, and so it's nice to see how dynamic we look now. How we have a lot of different threats, don't we? Like before, it was Morelli was going to score or no one would. Now you're not sure if Bent's going to be the one that misses the chance, or if Marshall's going to be the one that misses the chance, or Gussie is going to be one that misses the chance. But all joking aside, like at least they're in them positions, and yeah, no, we look really good. I like watching us at the moment. It's entertaining. That's all you can ask for, isn't it? Like you can forgive missed chances if we're playing exciting, good football, and we are.
Yeah, and I mean, even like with this one, I thought like for the first half anyway, like Daniels, like we kind of thought that he would be the player that kind of fit into the Morelli role and like kind of playing in behind the front players. but like we really lacked somebody who can play a true ball. And there was 2 or 3 occasions in that first half when like it wasn't even like a thought. Like he just knew to play the ball through, and I think we've really missed that. Like in the last couple of seasons that we don't have like Rampersad and Jeremy are like and Lamotte are technically good players, but they're not always the best. Like when we're trying to move the play forward quickly or spot an opening, and I think Daniels really brings that to us. What did you notice that yourself too? Like, I mean,
yeah, definitely. He's the first centre midfielder we've ever had with that profile. Who, like, we've always had. So, well, not always. So in the first season, we had kind of these big, very like agricultural functional midfielders. And then he obviously had like a little think and thought I wanted more technical players. But I think we actually went a bit too far that way. And we had nothing but these little technical players who good at triangles, passing and stuff. But now with Daniels, we've just kind of put this real different ingredient in there. And he'll either beat a man, beat 2 men, or look for a through ball. But his first thought is always, what's the quickest way from here to the goal? And as we saw, he's got a fantastic shot on him as well. And I'd say just very quickly as well, what I've noticed with the centre midfielders as well is then so playing with 2 8s is not that common really. Like normally teams play with like 2 6s, don't they? And then an 8 ahead. So the fact that we're playing with just Rampy on his own in there and 2 8s ahead adds to how attacking we look and how many overloads we can create, because we've normally got an extra body there. The flip side to that, of course, is we have the potential to be absolutely killed on transition this season, and there will be a game when it happens without a doubt where we just get spanked 3 or 4-0 because Rampy is left all alone in there. But at the moment, like we're quite smart with tactical fouls, and I 100% have been told to do that, because anytime those 8s are caught up the pitch, and we saw it a lot against Guelph, Lamotte will literally just grab someone's shirt and pull them back. I've seen Jeremy do it. They all do it because they know if that doesn't happen, then Rampy is on his own against all of their counter-attacking players. So we are exposed, but we're looking much better going forward as a result.
Yeah, and I also I think Rampersad is like, he got the man of the match for this game, which I honestly don't know how they come up with this stuff. We talked about it before, and it just boggles my mind. Like
the Valour game, yeah.
Yeah, like I think he got man of the match, and he was really good and really effective. But I don't think he was outstanding. He just did rampy things, and it's kind of weird. Like I think the people who watch the games and commentate on the games are starting to realize how much of a good player he is. Because I think in the Guelph game, Jimmy Brennan brought it up and talked for like a good minute or two about what Rampy brings to the Wanderers and how he makes them tick and all that kind of stuff. And coming from someone like Jimmy Brennan, it's obviously like it's high praise indeed. But like I think they're trying to catch up with the fact that they've been leaving him out an awful lot of this stuff. You know what I mean? And
it reminds me, if you remember with Michael Carrick, there was a period where he was actually underrated and massively underrated. But then everyone actually then started rating him, but everyone would still say, oh, he's so underrated. And that was kind of the cliche. And I feel like it's getting a bit like that with Rampy now, where up until this season, he was criminally underrated. But now everyone actually rates him and thinks he's brilliant, but we all still feel the need to go, oh, he's underrated though, and no one gets how good he actually is. So I think that once the commentators are doing a bit of that as well, like you said, making up for not recognizing him before.
And I think as well too, probably like the fact that he's, as you mentioned, like the lone 6, you're starting to see him, what he actually does on a regular basis a lot more, because normally he always has somebody sitting beside him and you don't always get to see it. I think it kind of stands out a lot more because he's actually like just shielding in front of the back 4, and you're actually getting to see what he does on a regular basis. And it's just it is really good to watch it. Like I think he's an amazing footballer, and I really do enjoy like how he goes about the game, how technically good he is, and he's amazing. But I just wanted to switch a little bit back to Cory Bent. So Cory Bent's been, I don't know if he's done this before, but he seems to be taking a lot of our corners. And maybe it's stemmed from that free kick against Pacific that we suddenly realized he's good at set pieces. But the level of crossing he's putting in for these corners is incredible. Like the amount of chance that we created and trouble he's causing, like I was amazed.
It's a really nice whip on it, doesn't he? Like he's got that kicking style where he can like whip it really, where it seems to drop out of the air really quickly and come down really quickly. It's obviously how he shapes his foot or something, he does it. But yeah, no, brilliant on deliveries. And I was trying to think actually, who was on corners before him? Was it Jeremy?
Yeah, it's usually Jeremy. So Jeremy was taking them on the far side, and I think Cory was taking them on the left to try and whip them in, if you know what I mean. So before, I think it was Jeremy like almost taking them. I think Morelli may have taken like one or two as well. But like Cory Bent, like he gave Sirwa like quite a few scary moments there with some of the crosses he was bringing in, and obviously having Rampy and Peter Charlotte in there. Like I think it was in the first 2 or 3 minutes we created a chance from a corner. Just I don't think he was expecting the whip on it. It's definitely something in our arsenal. But I just wanted you to talk a little bit about your like what you thought of Cory Bent yourself, because I thought this was another barnstorming performance for him, to be honest.
Yeah, he's got the bit between his teeth, hasn't he? You can see he really wants to be the main person now, and he's lasting games more than he used to as well. He didn't used to finish that many 90 minutes, did he? Because he's a really like high intensity, very sprinty player. And he goes off on one as well. Like he'll just go on a mad pressing session as well. He'll like press the fullback, he'll go back to the keeper, he'll press them, and then he'll just be blowing for the next 10 minutes. But I think he's managing his sprints a lot better, so he's lasting games now. He's looked dangerous. He's scored since Morelli got injured? He scored twice, hasn't he? Against Edmonton and Pacific, yeah. But he could have scored a handful more as well. So he's getting into them positions Morelli used to get into, and he's looked really good. I still think he looks better I think we disagree, but I think he looks better from the left rather than the right, because I think he's playing more centrally. He's meeting the passes on his right foot and driving towards goal. So yeah, I think he's been really good lately.
Yeah, like I really enjoyed his performance again. As I said, it was kind of barnstorm. He was, I think, was it against Ottawa maybe or York? Like he just seemed so like stayed. Like I mean, like he just kind of like wasn't adventurous. Every pass was either back or to the side, and like he would never take a man on. And now it's like it's every chance he gets, he's just pushing forward, and I just think it's pure confidence. I don't know whether he wasn't feeling confident start of the season, but there's something that's changed. And we talked before about it might be just a responsibility, but I mean it's just fantastic to watch him when he's like in full pelt, like running at defenders. Like they're shit scared. It's great to watch. And I think even like a lot of the times like before, like his final pass wasn't the greatest, but like he's actually putting his head up, and there was a couple of chances he created. I think there was one from Marshall maybe in the first half that he created. That I don't think before he mightn't have picked them out. So it's definitely different. And speaking of Marshall, what did you think of his performance? Because obviously we had a chat the last time about how ineffective he's been, and like kind of just coming in and out of games. Like what do you think of his performance in this one?
Yeah, against Valour, everything he did was good apart from the finishing, which was not great. But we could say that about a lot of players over the last 2 games. His finishing was off, but I thought he worked really hard. And I think one of the criticisms from us the last podcast was that you can have an off day with your touch, but at least look like you're working really hard. And I don't think he did against Edmonton, which that might be unfair from us, to be fair. Like I didn't focus on him the whole game, but it certainly felt like that. But against Valour, like he was pressing well, he was winning his duels, he was winning the ball back, and he looked dangerous every time he got it as well. And I remember in the Winnipeg bubble last year, he had a really good game against Valour then as well, the one where he hit the bar and it went in, but it was disallowed. And it kind of reminded me of that performance where it had everything except the goal, which he probably deserved, but then some of the finishing maybe didn't deserve as well. So
like I can forgive him the finishing, because I felt it was a 180 from the game against Edmonton. He actually looked up for this one, and I don't know whether it's Stevens had a word in his shell like and said, like, you need to start putting the performances in, because like we need you. And like he was taking players on, he was buzzing around the edge of the box, and he was getting into the box and taking players on. And we kind of said like against Edmonton, it was a piss poor Edmonton team. This is not a bad Valour team. Like they've got some decent players, like so you can't level the same thing at them. And we were much the better team, and I think Marshall had a big part to play in that. But then goals win games, unfortunately. And
Valour, like you say, like they just won 6-1. They had a week's rest because their game was cancelled, so they're fresh. I mean, I don't know how many of their squad had COVID, but a lot of them would have been very fresh, buzzing off a 6-1 win away. So to go there and control it, especially the first half, completely control it. They didn't really ever look dangerous. And again, that's an attack that's high in confidence. Was really good performance.
Yeah, and I mean, like even like for like obviously Kieran Baskett started his first game. He looked pretty confident. His kicking was pretty good. Like Akio had a pretty decent chance in the second half that I thought he did well to save, but he didn't really have much to do. And
how would you do the whole Baskett Oxner thing this season? Because I don't know. I know you're going to ask me back, but I don't know. I'm just curious what you would do.
It's such a tough one because I think he's kind of made his bed by playing Oxner in the first bunch of games, and I think he wants Oxner's got the more experience, and I think that's probably his thinking is that like he probably still sees Baskett as like the backup keeper, like, and he wants like it's great having that competition. I thought like last year at York you had Nate Ingham and Nico Giansopoulos like pushing each other on, and I think it really pushed Nate Ingham on, and Nate Ingham had an incredible season. And I think that's probably the thinking behind it is that like you put Baskett in for 1 or 2 games just to remind Oxner that there's somebody that's just as capable waiting in the background. And in fairness, like he's been getting a lot of stick, Oxner, and some of his performances last year were piss poor, to be perfectly honest. And like he's obviously a local hero here, and you don't really want to be the person to say that stuff, but they were pretty bad. And I think this season he's been a lot more assured. His thought process is a lot more is like last year he was so rash at coming off his line. Like he's really good at coming off his line just because he sees stuff, but he was like really rash, and I think he was over like every chance that came through he'd rush off his line, and I think it causes an awful lot of issues like last year. And I think he's kind of scaled that back a little bit. And I think as well, because our defense is very calm in front of him, is probably helping that he doesn't have to make those rash decisions as much as what he did last year because we've been so good defensively. So yeah, like I would probably keep going with Oxner, like, and just have Baskett playing these odd games like this right now, because like Baskett's still only 20, 21, right? And Oxner's 25, 26. So that's the way I would look at it. But
I think what happened last season and Oxner having a few bad games, and I think that refocused him massively. I think in 2020 at the Island Games, I mean, I can't remember the guy's name now, but he wasn't great, was he? The Jason Ballou or something, his name? Yeah. And I think then the next season he gets a 19-year-old kid come in as his competition, and probably was thinking, it's not actually competition though. And you can, again, I'm casting aspersions and making guesses about his thought process here, but I imagine he relaxed a little bit. And you can't relax when you're a professional athlete because there should always be someone who's ready to take your job from you. And I think losing his place to Baskett last year probably really refocused him. And I bet he worked very hard in the off season to get back up to his level. And yeah, like you said, once you start playing him and he doesn't make any errors, which he hasn't done, then you can't take him out of the team because I think Baskett's a very good goalkeeper, but until Oxner has a bad run of form, then yeah, I'd stick with him too, I think.
But I don't think it's changed like anything. Like Oxner has been one of the best goalkeepers since the league's inception, and it doesn't change overnight. Like he's still a great goalkeeper, and I just think that last year probably he was feeling that he's probably feeling the pressure too, right? I mean, like he had like as you said, like he probably just thought his life was going to be easy, that he had like a 19-year-old kid that probably wasn't going to be like that much of a big deal, and then like Baskett kind of proved them wrong. But I think with the Island Games there, like I think Jason was brought in to push Oxner that way, because like in season 1 he didn't, like once Jan probably stopped playing, if you know what I mean. Like he kind of had that role to himself, and I think Jason was brought in to kind of give him some competition, and I think that really did help Oxner step up in the Island Games. And then like last year, as you said, he probably reverted the other way and just went like, I'm Bertie big bollocks here. Like I you know what I mean? So like they've brought in this guy's just a backup. So I think Kieran Baskett did phenomenally well last year to do what he did. But I think Stephen's picking a nice little balance right now. I kind of like it. And I think Kieran himself probably knows that like where he is, that he'll probably just get games here and there. So yeah, and he's done nothing wrong. That's the thing, right? I mean, it's
my only thing with like having a lot of rotation with those two, and this is definitely me being a football fan who's worrying too much, and players probably don't even think about this, but just having one of your goalkeepers being right-footed and one of them being left-footed, there's just a little part of my brain that goes, those defenders instinctively, when they turn around to play that back pass, are they going to play it on the wrong foot of someone if they're always... And like, I'm sure if a player was listening to this, which I hope they don't, by the way, but if they were,
nobody's listening to this.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's just me and you listening to it back. But I bet they're going, we're not fucking idiots. Like, of course our brain goes, oh, he's left-footed, play it to his left foot. So it's just me over worrying.
I actually think it's a pretty good point, because it's muscle memory and an awful lot of this stuff, right? So it's actually a good point. And I think as well, though, it kind of just breeds confidence amongst the defenders when you've got somebody who's in between the sticks, who's actually like oozing confidence themselves. And I think we start chopping and changing, that changes a lot. So I kind of like what Stephen's done so far. Just kind of, you're going to play a couple of games and let Oxner do his thing. So so let's hope Oxner keeps it going, because he's been fantastic. So moving on from the Valour game, because like as I said, we have a 6-hour podcast. We talk too in depth about these games, but a little shout out to Gander, who played that game too, which I thought he did a pretty decent game as well. So moving on to the Guelph game, did Gander play? Actually, I could be wrong.
Gander played against Guelph and Valour. Yeah. I think I don't know if Tabby's fit again. He had a little injury, didn't he?
I thought Gander did actually pretty well. So this Guelph game was actually like meant a lot to him, because obviously he played for them, and kind of returned to his team from like last year. So with this one, I thought we put out a much stronger team. Like we had Salter come in, Garcia came in, and then Restrepo came in. But one of the big changes was that we brought Mawamar in as a centre half. So how did you think he played? And do you think that's another? Do we need another central defender? Because we've got Kareem Sow coming back in. So I thought it was an odd decision, but what did you think of his performance?
I don't think it was his best performance, to be honest. I thought a couple of stray passes. He got outmuscled a couple of times. He grew into the game, to be fair to him, and the second half was a bit of a breeze for him, like it was for most of the players. When we signed him, that was the thing, wasn't it? Is he a centre-back or is he a centre midfielder? Because he played centre-back for Toronto Academy, for Canada under 17s, I want to say. He was a centre-back for them. And then when he went to college in America, he became more of a 6. It's interesting to see what his development's going to look like, to be honest, because I think Stephen Hart is probably figuring that out as well, and he's tried him he's come on a few times as a centre midfielder. Now he's having a game at centre back, so he'll be figuring out what his best position is, and the things he likes to do, he can do from both positions, which is ball at feet, no one behind him, head up, and be like that kind of deep playmaker. He can do that as a centre back or a centre midfielder. But you did see he didn't quite have that rhythm and pace yet to like make a decision in a split second and play the pass. And I think that's got to come with him, which he needs games for, to be honest.
Yeah, I thought like the start he looked really kind of nervy, and there was one thing where I thought he should have got a yellow card when it was in the corner. I kind of need to start the game when somebody got by him and he kind of like tripped them up and stuff like that. So I think he got kind of a bit lucky there, but when he switched to second half, he kind of pushed on a little bit further. I thought he was
when Charlotte came on.
Yeah,
Charlotte dropped into centre back and he went up.
I thought he was excellent, and like looking at that and the kind of bits and pieces I've seen of him, I don't think he's a central defender, and I don't think we need him to be honest with you. Like that's what I mean. Like the thing about these two games that kind of surprised me the most is that like we didn't need to play Rampersad for 180 minutes in these games. I don't understand the thinking behind it. Like
I would have subbed him off the second Daniels scored. Get Rampy off.
Yeah, like I mean, like this game in particular, the Guelph game, these guys were up for it because obviously they're playing a CPL team. Like you saw when Schoolblack came on that he was like up for it because he wanted to prove people wrong and all that bollocks. But they were throwing some fucking heavy tackles in.
Hey, I know. I don't know how they didn't get a red card. There was a couple of studs up on the ankle, on the foot. Yeah, I was very worried because I thought they were losing their heads a bit as well towards the end and getting a bit pissed off that we were strolling it.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I mean, like I don't think we showboated at all. I think there was one moment when Rampy did a bit of a twirl and whatever, but apart from that, like we weren't showboating, we weren't rubbing our nose into the golfing class. But like I just
the Guelphing class.
I thought today. No, I thought today I was going to use that, and then I was like, no, I won't. Gary will probably say it, so thanks, man. But I just don't understand, especially when we had like Jeremy on the bench too. We had Lamont on the bench, like just rest them up. It's like there was no way these guys were going to come back into this game. They were, especially
because can you think of another player on our team that can do what Rampy does? I can't. Nope. Like maybe this is I can't think of the word, but I feel like I'm in a position now where Rampy getting injured would worry me more than Morelli. And maybe I say that because it's been a few weeks now and we still look okay without Morelli, but the idea of that team without Rampy against a good side gives me the shivers, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that any of the others have the physical, like he's a big guy. He's imposing. I don't think any of the other guys have that about them, and I don't think that they have the same calmness on the ball.
To receive it in them areas when you've got two blokes pressing him, and I know. So
I just that was just my one like little criticism, I guess, of Stephen Hart in this, because I thought over the two games I thought he played his subs pretty well. He rotated the squad pretty well. One of the big things for me as well was like, you look at these games and obviously you want your team to be better than the team you're playing, especially as they're in a division below us or wherever. We looked, every one of our players looked way better than what they had. And I'm not trying to be like an asshole and like look down on them and stuff like that. To me, that's a good thing for us that all of our players like played really well and looked a little bit better than what they had, and I think that's what you kind of want. So
speaks to the quality of the league, because you remember playing Vaughan Azzurri in 2019 and there was nothing between us and them, which makes sense really now when you look back at that Vaughan team we played. It had Alistair Johnson on it, it had a couple of MLS players who now playing the MLS on it, so they were a legitimately good side. But and even last year really playing against Blainville, they looked decent, didn't they? And they really pushed us. But this was the first time we've played a lower league team, and it's been blatantly obvious how much better we are. Which
it kind of makes me think that maybe the Quebec League is a little bit above the Ontario, because I think it was the Masters, wherever one of those teams, they played against York last year and got spanked 5-0. There seems to be a little bit of the Quebec team seems to be a little bit stronger, to be honest. But anyway, I don't want to talk too much about like the golfing class because it's not really fair, and I thought they gave a pretty decent account of themselves considering. But
how do you think Scooby did when he came on?
He got a yellow card. I'm surprised he didn't get a red card.
I was positive before the game he'd get a red card. But he's an absolute lunatic, isn't he?
Yeah, but in fairness to him though, like he had a couple of nice like little touches. He bet a player in it too, and I'm surprised he didn't start the game because I thought he was probably like their best attacker. He gave them a little bit extra when they came on, that he was able to spread the ball out. But I think Jimmy Brennan had mentioned in the commentary like how much they just kept giving the ball back to Halifax and they didn't have to. And they were like, I think that's part of you're trying to show off to the CPL team that you're just as good at them, that they were trying to do like 50, 60 yard diagonal balls. And it's just like, why are you trying to do that when the easy pass and you're just making your life more difficult? One of the before we get into the kind of our team and how we did it, one of the big things that I really enjoyed was the crowd they got out.
The whole stadium looked brilliant on TV, didn't it?
Yeah.
That looks. I think only us and Cavalry, and if Pacific had a good camera angle, the stadium looks better on TV than theirs did. Like that it should be the model of a CPL stadium, that kind of big stand in the middle, which you actually fill with 2,000 people. And then if they were in the league, a stand behind the goal as well, that you could fit another couple of thousand in. And yeah, it looked brilliant. A really good crowd. So it makes you think, like, could a team work there? I don't know Ontario at all, but it felt like,
I've had people from York on the show before, and I've had fans from York on the show before, and I hate, like, it's that kind of rubbing their nose in the fact they're not getting many fans out to a game. I hate that as well. I hate the piss taking of York, because you're taking the piss out of the people that are doing the thing that you want other people to do, if that makes sense. Like, they're the ones going every week. They shouldn't be getting taken the piss out of, because they're doing it in spite of the fact that there's no one else there. And, like, I think that should be respected, not taken the piss out of, especially not by people who work for One Soccer. But anyway. Yeah. And I think it's the same with Edmonton too, that I think Garrett Wheeler has been an asshole about it.
That's it. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
But it just goes to show me that, like, that when they selected York as the team, I don't think they thought it out properly, because it goes to show you, like, I mean, like, Electric City, who are also in League One, had their inaugural game like last week and broke the record of, like, with 1,600 fans. So I think there's enough of those, like, little smaller towns outside of Toronto that they could have put a team into who would have drawn decent crowds. And I think it's an impossible job really in York to try and get a lot of people out, because it's there's just so much to go up against, and it's in a weird part of Toronto too. And I just feel like they're just constantly fighting an uphill battle. But that was just my little thing that I noticed.
We're probably the wrong people to be commenting on this, but from the outside, and again from someone that doesn't know Ontario very well, I feel like you need to tap into small communities with a high level of civic pride, like Guelph, like Electric City, rather than just this. Is it York's a suburb of Toronto, basically?
Yeah. So
like, where when you live in a big city, you don't really feel like you belong to that city, because it's such a melting pot. So people living there probably don't feel like, yeah, I'm from York. York's fantastic. I would imagine they probably consider themselves more greater Toronto area.
Like, in fairness to Angus and all the people out there, like, they're throwing so much at it, like, and I think they've done a fantastic job in what they're doing to build the club up, and everything about it is super professional. It's just getting the arses on seats is proving very difficult, because, like, if there's, and they've moved it to Friday night and all this kind of stuff, but I mean, like, the price of tickets to go see TFC, the Raptors, Blue Jays and stuff like that, like, it's another bit of money out of your pocket. And I mean, I'm not being bad, but if I lived in Halifax and we had a CPL team or an MLS team, like, I'm going to go see the MLS team. I'm sorry, but that's just, I sound like an asshole, but that's just the way it is, right? Because I mean, you want to see the higher level. That's just me. But anyway, that was just my little side note. Samuel Salter, what did you think of his performance?
Since Edmonton, I love old Sammy Salter. Throughout the whole Edmonton game, when he came on and was brilliant, Shep and I were just going, Sammy fucking Salter. I just kept saying it over and over again. And I'm glad, because we gave him a bit of shit, didn't we? After the what game was it? Ottawa maybe.
Yeah.
When his first touch just wasn't there and he was dreadful. Again, and we did say this at the time, we thought he was being played out of position, left wing. Still completely think that, and he's been playing as a right kind of tucked in right winger, more of a centre forward since, and has looked a completely different player. So yeah, he's been good lately. So the good thing about the game against Guelph was they were quite big centre backs, and so it's not like he could bully them physically. Like, he had to rely on a bit more than that. And he was technically quite subtle. Should have scored 2, I think. Yeah, 2 1-on-1s, didn't he? So again, that was unusual, actually, because normally he's a really cool and calm finisher. So to see him, I don't know if he panicked, but he kind of rushed the first one a little bit. To see that was a bit unusual. But again, like Marshall and Bent, happy to see him getting in those positions. And yeah, he was good.
I really thought that his touch was amazing, but his ability to beat people, like, you know, it's I don't like it's something that we've kind of seen flashes of, but in this game, like, he was excellent. Like, I mean, like, I don't know, many times he beat his man and opened stuff up for us. Like, I was really impressed with him. I mentioned to a few people like last night during the game, like, I mean, what a game he's having, and I know it's Guelph, but you still gotta do your stuff. And I thought that was probably his best all around game. I've seen him playing a wonder. Like, you know, a goal would have been nice, but everything else about it was super impressed.
Who would you say our strongest front three is at the moment?
Cory Bent, Salter, and then
it's kind of like, Cory, you like him on the right, yeah.
Like on the right or the left, like being honest with you, like what you said earlier on kind of makes sense to me. Like I don't think it matters as much where he's playing now, because he's just going at people, you know, and
he's very central if he plays on the right or the left. So yeah.
So whereas before I thought that he just looked better on the right because all he was doing was just like trying to come inside and just lay the ball off. But now he's like being a lot more like dynamic. Like I actually don't mind what side he plays on. Like it's kind of tough. Like, I mean, like, Akeem didn't do all that much wrong like last night, but I still don't think it was the greatest game that he's had. Like it's just, yeah, it's kind of...
Would you play Robinson then instead?
I would probably, what I'd probably do is I'd probably have Robinson on the left or right, like him or Bent, and then put Salter in the middle. I think Salter is the best centre forward that we have at the club right now, with Morelli out, and I think Akeem's just struggling, man. Like, I don't know what, like, you know, he got the penalty and all that kind of stuff, and he got into a few like nice little positions, but like he just didn't, like, he should be standing out in this game. You know, like he was top scorer at the Island Games. There was talk, rumors of, like, you know, he might get an MLS move out, whatever, blah 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 blah. But looking at that game last night, you wouldn't think that, right? I mean, like, I just thought he just looked okay.
He's finding himself again, isn't he? I still feel like we're on that journey. I don't think he's there yet, confidence wise or physically trusting himself yet. With Salter, do you think he could do that kind of dropping in false nine stuff, which we seem to want from a centre, our number 9? I think he can. I've not seen any evidence really of it yet, but I think he probably can.
Just looking at, like, last night, a couple of opportunities he created for himself. I think there was one from outside the box that you got to save out a keeper. Like, he has that touch to, like, beat somebody, and I think that having that in a false nine where you can, like, kind of just get past your marker and open the space to lay it off is huge, and I think he definitely can do it. And I think just as an out and out striker, like, he's probably still, like, I think he's also like one of the best that we have, because I think there was one chance where he nearly scored a header, like he kind of put himself about a little bit, which was kind of nice to see too. So yeah, like, watching the Ottawa game, he's not a winger. And no matter how much, like, Stephen Hart tries to, like, as you said, like, Stephen Hart, like, what, like, he's got a defined system of how he wants us to play, and he's just trying to take people out and put other people in, but that doesn't always work, because, like, you got to work out what you've got, and I don't think Salter fits into that role that well. No. So this is like night and day compared to what he was like against Ottawa, and I'm happy for him because he's a good lad, right? So
we'll see what the new guy's like as well. Like, what I'm interested to see where he fits in that front three. I'm sure you watched the YouTube stuff the same as me, the highlight stuff, and he looks good. He looks very threatening, very direct, very dribbly, quite gangly, isn't he? Left-footed as well, so
he's sticked in. So but I definitely, like, you know, I watch a lot of the Fury stuff that he, like, and it's not easy scoring goals and creating chances in that league. So I'm kind of excited. It was kind of another one from the Wanderers that's kind of just out of left field, but I'm really hoping
he's been training for a while, because we, in the Discord group, we were looking at training pictures a couple of weeks ago, and he was in one of them, and we were all going, "Who's he?" Nice. No one knew at the time, but when we signed him, obviously it was like, oh, that's that guy we were trying to. So he's obviously been training for a while. He's played with Daniels and Jeremy, so I would imagine they gave him a good reference. Be interesting to see. To be honest, I still feel a bit burnt by Kamara. I really didn't rate Kamara or Portal last year, and I'm bringing my bias, not bias. I'm bringing my baggage to the table, but hopefully he's good. Hopefully he's a good player, because he's certainly done it at a high level. It's just whether I don't know what kind of league the Senegalese league is, but hopefully he's pretty fit and sharp.
I know where you're coming from, and the fact that like he did really well at the Fury and then just kind of disappeared. You know what I mean? Like why did he go back to Senegal? And there just seems
maybe that is a good. I don't know anything about it. Like maybe that's one of the better African leagues. I have no idea. Might be good money. So yeah, maybe he went there for that. But it does seem, with our very like North American centric head on, it seems quite strange.
It just seems like a weird there's a missing story or something. But
it reeks of Aziz, because Aziz was here for a year, and we all know I have theories about Aziz in that he doesn't exist and never has existed. But yeah, he came here for a year, then he's just been playing in Somalia since, hasn't he? So hopefully this guy's better than Aziz.
International man of mystery. Overall, like I think with 2 games, as I said, it was actually nice watching the Wanderers play good football, and the press is like even more impressive. It's been like fantastic, like how much we're not giving the opposition time on the ball, and everybody just knows what they're expected to do, and it just looks like it's been drilled into them the whole off season. But we have to talk about how bad the finishing's been. Like, I mean, we try not to be Debbie Downers on the show, and you know, I'm always painted somehow as being this negative fucking like grumpy old bastard, which is fine. Like whatever, I'll take it. But we have to be like also critical when we have to be. And what do you think is going on? Like it's nuts, man. Like honestly, like especially in this game, the chances that we missed were fucking horrendous.
Oh man, I know. I watched a couple of them back, and the Bent open goal, he can't get his feet set. So the ball comes across and it's kind of coming towards his left foot, and you see him in a split second try and like angle his body so it's on his right foot, and then it's just a mess. The Salter one-on-ones, he just hit it too centrally. Yeah, it's just we are so dedicated to underperforming our XG. It's unbelievable, actually, how to the point where it's quite funny. I think like last night, because the game, I always felt pretty confident we were going to win. I was just laughing at those. I didn't feel angry last night. It was so far beyond that it had become quite funny. And like, I felt like the Benny Hill music should have been playing for a few of them.
Like the Cory Bent one, in fairness to him, I'm trying to just get him out of jail here a little bit. I thought that Daniels played it very quickly at him. Like
that pitch was shit as well.
Yeah. So I'll kind of give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm trying to help him out because he's a nice guy and he's been playing well. The Akeem one against the post was fucking disgraceful. I'm sorry, but the fact we got a penalty out of it, like, was God smiling on that.
Reminded me of, remember the home opener against Ottawa last year, where he missed an open goal, but then it fell to Morelli. So everyone forgets about the miss. So I think this time that's going to be forgotten about because there's a penalty. But yeah, I'm not going to let it happen. But also, I think as well, we were very cocky with some of the ways that we tried to finish these chances off. There's the Salta one when he tried to like almost like lob the keeper or something. He had like the 1-on-1 in the second half. Garcia tried to lob the keeper as well, didn't he?
Yeah,
and he ended up like passing it to him.
Like the Akeem one, like, I mean, like you're short of confidence, right? Like you're trying to get yourself in the score sheet, and then you try and do something like that. Just bury the fucking thing, you know?
I might be misremembering, but I think a game or two ago he was in a similar position and put too much on it and it went over. I feel like I'm remembering that right, and maybe this time that was in his head, so he thought, "Oh, I overdid it last time." So, but yeah, like you said, laces, just head down, laces, just bury the fucking.
And that's the thing, though. Like if you take the shot and the keeper saves it, like from from hitting the ball properly, nobody will think the worst of you. They'll go like, okay, like he's getting in there, great save from the keeper, blah blah blah. But when you do something like dinky like that, like it's just like what the fuck are you doing here? And it almost like it's insulting to your team to think that it's okay to do that. It always reminds me of the Mario Balotelli thing against the Galaxy when he
in the friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, Mancini was fuming, wasn't he?
But it's just
I don't think he was taking the piss. I think it was just a really poor finish. I thought he was trying to be a bit too clever, and yeah, he should have just welly it sometimes.
So I'm kind of glad that Stephen Hart shaved his head, because whatever hair he has, he would have just pulled it out last
gone,
night.
yeah.
To be honest. Yeah. So you're Stephen Hart. What do you do to change this? Like I mean, it's
the finishing.
Yeah.
I'm completely. I think Pep Guardiola said this, so I'm going to steal his words or at least paraphrase them. But he kind of said, "All I can do is coach them to the point where they're in them positions, and then it's up to them." And like he's kind of a big believer in you can't really coach that. You can do finishing drills and stuff in training and all that stuff, but in the heat of the moment, that's not going to change whether. Like with Hart and I think a lot of this is Dorado actually. Like we've now got to the point where we can create chances in the final third, and now it's that last bit, and that's on the players. It's up to them. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you coach that.
I really feel like one of the players is going to take off. Like it's going to be like Morelli, like last year, where I feel like
I still think Bent.
Yeah, he looks the most likely to me, because he's creating an awful lot of chance. Like there was 1 or 2 chances last night where he had shots from outside the box that, like, I think somebody had said, like in the Discord thing about like him at CBU, he's finishing that chance, which is fair enough because he was lethal at CBU, and I think he's getting back to that, but he definitely does look the most likely to go off and score 15 goals this season. But yeah, it's, I was watching like last night, as I said, like if this had been another dreary Wanderers performance, I would have been a lot pissed off, but it was actually a really entertaining game, and I thought we played really, really well, and like came away with 2-0, and we got TFC in the next round, so you can't really be that much of a negative, but it's just yeah. I think it was Derek had said in the thing, like, these lads couldn't finish the sentence, which I thought was kind of nice. But before we go, I didn't actually ask you about man of the match, but before we go, we have to talk about the Daniels goal. Like you've been saying he's capable of this stuff since the start of the season, and we kind of know he's capable of it. But man, what a fucking goal!
Absolutely twatted it, didn't he? Yeah.
It was just pure class.
Yeah, I know, the power, accuracy. Thought the keeper could have maybe done a bit better, but it was I don't think many keepers are saving that. Yeah, he's got that in his locker. Like if you even if you'd never watched him in full matches, if you watched any of the highlight tapes, then he scored. That's not a fluke. He scored that goal before, and he scored variations of that goal before. So. Yeah, and hopefully this gives him the confidence to do it a bit more as well, because he's been injured, and after the game when they asked him about the goal, did you see what he said? Like he wasn't going to take the shot on because his right quad's been injured, and that's why he's missed a few games and only been playing halves, and he was worried about doing it by having that shot, but he said he just went for it, and obviously his quad felt fine and it went in. So hopefully that will give him the confidence to trust his body a bit more and do more of that. Like he could have scored a similar sort of goal against York in the first game. And I thought he was really bright in that first game against York. I was really excited about him anyway. And then, injuries. So he's played like a half here or there. So it was nice to see him he did play 90 minutes yesterday, didn't he?
No, he came off. Yeah, he came off for somebody. But yeah.
So building his fitness up, because we're going to need him. Like we were talking about it earlier, but the amount he adds to this team in his qualities, we need a player like that. So yeah, lovely to see him score. Confidence should be high. So yeah, very happy.
Just like you're right, it's been like very stoppy starty for him. Like he played really well against York, and then the injury, and it's kind of like just minutes here and there. And I don't think he's had the full. I think a run of games is going to be such a big difference for him. And we kind of talked before about like maybe we don't need somebody to score 15 goals. We just need some people to chip in with more than what they did last year. And from that evidence, like he definitely could be one of those players that, five goals from midfield. Lamott had some really good chances, I thought, too, against Valour. So he could probably chip in with a couple of goals. Rampy just kind of the same.
I don't think Rampy won't score. Well, he might score one or two, but yeah, the where he's playing on the pitch is not going to be there.
But like he's had some really good chances this year, though.
Yeah, that's true.
He hit the bar in this game. I think he had a really good chance, I think, against Valour too. Anyway, so I think that's all we need is just maybe like you know, I still think that one of our forwards is going to go off on one, but just having somebody chipping in the goal. So I did forget to ask you. So who was your man of match against Valour?
For Valour, let's give it Marshall, just because we were quite harsh on him in the last episode, and I thought he really worked hard, missed a lot of chances, but everything else was good. So yeah, Marshall for Valour.
I'm going to give it to Cory Bent. I just thought he was on it. And, you know, on another day, he had a really good chance, I think, when Marshall knocked it back to him and it got cleared off the line, but it was like a really weak ass shot. And I think on another day, like, he's burying that one. So yeah, I'm going to give it to Cory Bent. And then Guelph, who was, they gave it to Daniels, but like, I
thought he scored.
Yeah, but he had a pretty decent game, but I don't think he was like the most outstanding player. Like he's kind of coming in and out of the game a lot. So who would you give it to?
I'd give it Rampersad for the Guelph game. I thought he reminded me of, you know, those Japanese game shows do that thing sometimes where they'll have like 3 professional footballers play against 40 kids and they see how many they can score. And it felt, watching Rampersad, it felt like that to me. He was just like the only adult on the pitch. He was absolutely, he took the piss not in like a bad way, but he was just so much better than anyone else in that midfield. So yeah, Rampy for me.
I think I saw one of those where it was like Steven Gerrard and Robbie Keane against a bunch of kids in Los Angeles. Yeah, that's amazing. I'm actually going to give it to Mr. Salter. I think that he, I just thought his touch was on point. He created like some nice little chances for himself. He got unlucky. I think he had a header off a corner in the first half, maybe, when he kind of headed it down. So yeah, like I think he created like an awful lot for himself as much as people laying stuff on for him. So I think that was one of his best games for the Wanderers. So yeah, man. So we have Calvary on Sunday. Yep. So
you've seen so Thursday. So Thursday 22 degrees, Friday 28 degrees, Saturday 25 degrees. Sunday 11 degrees and pissing it down, so it must be a home game. It must be.
I did see that. I think people were saying like we're going to get burnt Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and then it just got all cooled down and so it's typical Halifax, man. So yeah, Gary, thanks for hanging out, man. It's been fun, like looking back at the 2 games, and you know, I'm starting to feel confident for the season after these last 2 games. You know, like I'm saying,
God, I hope you've not jinxed it there.
I know, right? It's what I do. You know what this is? This is being a Tottenham fan, man. You get your hopes up and then you just get booted down. So yeah, take care, man.
Cheers, mate. Bye.
Cheers, buddy.
Vote, please. Right foot, please. Time to drink on, folks. Get out. Out to vote.